Welcome, everybody, to another episode of the Freedom Filled Life podcast. We are excited to talk about something that is what we feel like is a very real-time strategy, something that we're talking a lot about with our clients all of the time in our Scale with Purpose Mastermind group coaching program. And that's really around the sales and marketing of your high-ticket services. So we're going to talk about what's worked in the past and maybe isn't working now. We're going to talk about what we are seeing work now, how to lean into the marketing and sales around those strategies, and how to gain more leads to drive more sales for your services. So, Cass, why don't you kick us off today with this topic?
Yeah. Hello. I'm excited to talk about this because, as you know, marketing is, I kind of carry the CMO hat here at Bucket List Bombshells, and I love supporting our clients in this area of their business, because I do think that for most of the clients that we serve in our Scale with Purpose Mastermind program, marketing is really an area of their business that always falls to the back burner. And I think it makes a lot of sense because, you're so busy serving your clients and you're deep in client work. And as we all know, as entrepreneurs, there's so many other hats to wear in your business as well, besides actually just doing the client work. So I think marketing just kind of ends up falling to the bottom of that to-do list, but we usually see it become top of mind when our clients come to us because they want to generate more revenue. And of course, they want to be able to scale. And so for most of our clients, they are selling some version of a done-for-you high-ticket service, which means that either they have high-ticket PR services or book coaching, book consulting, brand and website design packages, social media management packages. Those are just some examples. And they have a high-ticket package or service, again, done for you for their clients that their agency serves. And so that's what we're going to be talking about in this specific episode. And like you said, Shay, I think there are strategies that when it came to marketing used to work in the past. And I know that we talk about this a lot. And, if you're listening, you probably have strategies or things in your life that worked pre-2020, and then there's things that worked post-2020, and then there are things and strategies that are working today in 2025. And so I'm excited to have this conversation because we're able to kind of pull back the curtain really and talk about what marketing strategies are actually working right now for us and for our clients to be able to scale and sell their high-ticket services. So to kind of kick us off, I really wanted to give a bit of a reality check, like I just said, and start first with we're seeing no longer working when it comes to selling high-ticket services in 2025. There's multiple that come to mind for me, but if you can kind of dive in and start sharing some strategies that you've seen that are no longer working right now.
Yeah, I think the first one that comes to mind that I think 10 years ago worked so well for service-based online businesses to pitch their done-for-you services was cold pitching via email. And I've really seen this one go to the wayside more and more because I think it got oversaturated, overused. And then also with email marketing, just the amount of probably newsletters in your inbox, the amount of emails in your inbox, the amount of client emails in your inbox to then also get cold pitched. And now with the rise of AI, just sees like really unpersonalized pitch emails that we constantly receive. And I know that back in the day, for those of you who have been listening to us for years and our past students, like this was my top strategy. So I can say this was my top strategy that I would teach was cold pitching clients via very personalized emails. It is not something I recommend anymore. So when it lands in an inbox, I mean, you probably experience this because I do too, just the volume. And again, like I said, with AI, I just feel like it's massive, these no personalized pitches. So no one's really, they don't want you cluttering up their inbox. So that's a big one that I think was one of the biggest shifts. And I think primarily because it was my number one strategy for how I grew to six figures in my first business. And so that's the first one I would say has gone to the wayside. And I think that it's transitioned, and we'll talk about like what works now. But I would say just to ease those thoughts around like there is this opportunity still to connect, but you have to build a relationship. So stuff that we've talked about in other episodes is, DM strategies for building relationships on LinkedIn, on Instagram, on Facebook, where we're not going in with a cold pitch. We are talking about how we build a relationship first and then move into pitching or sharing your services. So there's still ways to cold connect with people, but I do not think that the email side works anymore. Something else that I don't know if this was something that service-based business owners have ever really used well, but it's like that one of the top things that our clients will ask us when they start working with us is, should I be doing Facebook ads? And I think it's because probably many of you buy digital products. There has been such, in the past 10 years, just so many digital products on the scene, and the way that maybe you were introduced to us through a Facebook ad. The way that influencers, digital product creators, even coaches are getting in front of their audience via Facebook ads. So there are certain industries that Facebook ads works for, or any type of ads, but I'm just generalizing Facebook ads. I feel strongly that for service-based business owners, the return on investment spent in other areas that we're going to talk about is much higher than creating Facebook ads and trying to get in front of your audience and meet them where they're at when they're, say, ready to hire a brand new website designer. I think it's a much better approach, again, going into proactive relationship building opportunities versus this sort of set it and forget it, get content in front of someone. So I personally don't recommend Facebook ads. Not that I feel like it was ever a very strongly used, because we're talking about like what worked well. I don't think it's ever worked really well for service-based providers, but I think there's a misconception that people feel they should be doing it. So I just want to say, you don't need to be doing that.
Yeah, absolutely. I think too, when it comes to Facebook ads, there is kind of that smoke and mirrors. Like, we all see that we get targeted Facebook ads on a daily basis. And if you're listening, you're like, yes, just because I talked about something yesterday, now I'm getting targeted it today. Like, I feel like we have this conversation in my household, like at least once a week. It happens. So you're seeing so many Facebook ads. I think the smoke and mirrors is like, well, it must be working. And so if I have a business, like you said, Shay, oh, maybe I should be doing Facebook ads. And I think because you and I, Shay, we did Facebook ads for years, I feel like we became somewhat of experts in our space when it came to Facebook ads. And of course, things have definitely changed since you and I were, heavily using Facebook ads in our business. But I think there's this misconception that you just put money in like a money tree and just like the ROI just like pumps money out. And so it just seems like it's, I don't know, clockwork. Like, yes, why wouldn't you put $300 in if you're going to come away with $3,000, of course. And so, for people who maybe see things on Instagram or watch YouTube videos and you're kind of hearing these types of case studies, the reality is that's just not the way it's working anymore. And like you said, Shay, that's really for other types of high volume customer type of businesses as well, in a different business model, having digital products and being able to sell things one to many, you do need volume. And we've talked about this before as well in past episodes. If you are a service-based business owner and you're selling high-ticket services, that is not a service that is infinitely scalable. You don't need a massive volume of clients in order to hit your revenue goals. If you look at your finance sheet, and we put together really robust CEO dashboards for all of our clients, it becomes so clear sometimes, for example, that you only need 7 clients in your high ticket services to hit your revenue goals. And so it does not make sense to have to pump a bunch of money into Facebook ads, deal with an algorithm, which that could be an entire other conversation and a rabbit hole. The algorithm of Facebook ads, just like people struggle with the algorithm of Instagram, think about that, but worse, because now you've put money into the game, and sometimes it's not a small amount of money. So it can be really risky as well. And again, if we're going back to our goals and only needing to land a handful more clients for our high ticket services and then we're fully booked out, it really does not make sense to try to utilize Facebook ads, throw significant amount of money, deal with an algorithm, have to produce content, need to pay a Facebook ads manager. I feel like there's even more reasons that I'm missing out on, but there are just so many reasons why this isn't a good strategy and not something that we use, not something that we recommend for our clients, and definitely not something that we see service-based owners utilizing in order to sell more of their high-ticket services, especially for done for you.
Yeah, absolutely. And continuing on with the other things that are maybe worked in the past that we don't really see real time working. One of the other things, and this is kind of goes, I think, fluctuate. So I don't want to say that relying on referrals, that's my next point, is like something that you don't do, because we still do that. Okay. We still rely on referrals. We still add past clients. Like, you will still receive referrals. But I think that what I have noticed, though, and what clients have shared with us over the years too, is that there was a period of time where they could rely very easily on a high volume of referrals. And then what happened, though, was those referrals started to get less and less. Maybe they're not as targeted into their niche. They're just not coming in as often. And that is because it's so base. I feel like it's like an unknown algorithm. It's not an algorithm. It's just kind of like, you don't know. You don't know if you're going to, like, you have these peaks, you have these valleys. You don't know how long the valleys might last for. So I feel like and I think we talked about this in other episodes, like, it's just a bit unstable to have all your eggs in that basket, which is why I want to talk today about sales and marketing strategies. And then I also think just after, with the landscape changing and just with the volume of service-based providers online, which is amazing, there's like room for everybody, but relying on referrals is probably a little bit more difficult now in today's landscape because there is more competition for those referrals as well. So I think that it's definitely not something that is like you'll never get referrals or quote unquote doesn't work. I definitely encourage you to have a referral incentive program for your clients. I encourage you to reach out to your current clients actively, maybe on like a quarterly basis, but it's not something that I think that moving forward is something you can rely heavily on, or feel confident that like, oh, last year I made all my sales like 90% off referrals. And now this year I'm expecting the same results. Like, I think it's going to decrease. So like, okay, you did 90% last year. It's probably only going to be like 70%. So how do we make up for that difference? So that's what we'll talk about today. So the next one also relates to social media as well, but thinking about organically, Instagram content. I feel like this is probably the second one after Facebook ads that our clients ask, what volume of social media content should I be creating? How often should I be posting? What type of content should I be creating? I think it also goes back to the type of business. We don't need this one-to-many model, which means that we don't really need to rely on algorithms. And I think the algorithms, from what I've seen being written about in early 2025, is it's getting harder and harder to work with those algorithms and how often they change, and like, how are you actually, there's lots of what I have seen and read about is there's lots of engagement, there's lots of reach, but those actually moving down the funnel and being the right target audience and also being at the right buyer stage to purchase from you, from the data, is showing that is just not something that I think that you should put your time and energy right now in 2025 for service-based providers. I think that, again, when we are looking for a small volume of high-ticket services, we need to build a deeper relationship than what someone is reading or seeing just from posting content. That's a much more like post it and wait for someone to come to you versus taking a more proactive approach and going out and connecting personally or building a relationship with someone. So posting content, I don't think you need to spend a high volume of your time there creating and posting content for something like Instagram. I think that it can be a great like booster or supplementary if you want it to be, if you're passionate about it. If you've done the research that your target audience is spending time on Instagram, But I think that there's a layer of, like I've talked about on other episodes, in terms of like DM conversations or building relationship conversations. And it's not just posting and thinking that one post is going to get you all of the leads that you need. So I think it can be supplementary if it's something that you want to do.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely. I think that's such a great point. And, you know, you mentioned is your target audience even on Instagram? So obviously that's something that you would need to consider for yourself. And we have past episodes where we talk about how to figure out, you know, what your top of funnel strategies are that work for your audience. And I also think that for done for you high ticket services, most of these clients and most of our clients, they are busy. Even if they are on Instagram, let's say, and spending, you know, a couple minutes just scrolling through a feed, it could be just because they're doing it for their own enjoyment, entertainment, catching up on something really quick for fun. Like, I am not expecting to be sold, or nor am I expecting to buy, you know, high ticket PR services or high ticket brand and website design off of a Instagram reel that I saw in the 5 minutes that I was sitting in my car, you know, waiting to go into a store or something like that. And I think for our clients as well, most of them inside of our Scale with Purpose Mastermind, we are needing to find and target the decision maker when it comes to who is going to be that person that they're actually selling that high ticket service for, right? So if we're talking about a group clinic owner, or we're talking about a director of marketing or a CMO or a CEO or a VP of a certain department, in certain instances, especially for nonprofits, like a lot of those have, you know, just like larger, more formal organization structures. It is not easy to target those people by posting an Instagram approach. It just feels like it's so disconnected from a really more strategic approach. And I think thinking that you're going to catch the eye of someone like that, the reality is that we're just not seeing that work. We do see clients still do it. They still are posting on Instagram and posting content, and they share that they have, you know, for those that still have spots remaining in their done for you services, they will mention it. And on occasion, people do get, you know, interest. But when we're talking like wanting to scale and sell out high ticket services, it is not a strategy that's working. We do not have clients coming to us that are like, oh my goodness, I posted an Instagram reel about my high ticket service, and I have now 5 new discovery calls booked this week. It's just, the reality is that we're just not seeing that work. And we see a lot of clients and women in our community feel very overwhelmed by the time and the energy it takes to produce that amount of content. And we talked about this a little bit in the episode recently where we talked about how you and I, Shay, we kind of quote unquote quit social media. So you can go listen to that episode if you're more curious about just like social media and Instagram and our take on that as a marketing approach. But to touch upon it here as well, just because I think it is really related to this conversation we're having. And so, you know, if you think and you're worried that you're not spending all this time on Instagram and you are trying to really focus on selling your high ticket services, then I would like to tell you that that's not a strategy that we see working. But it is something people think, kind of smoke and mirrors again. I think people think that it is working. Again, very specific. We're talking about done for you, high ticket services.
Yeah, I think those are such great points.
Hey, it's Cassie popping in with a big announcement. For the first time since September of last year, our Scale with Purpose Mastermind program is officially opening again for enrollment very, very soon. If you've been dreaming of working one-on-one with Shay and myself in 2025 to scale your own service-based online business to multi-six figures with more ease, more purpose, and more profits, then this is the time to make it happen. Our Scale with Purpose Mastermind program is our most intimate, high-touch program where you'll get one-on-one private coaching calls with us. bi-weekly small group strategy calls, personalized, done-with-you support to streamline your services and your product offer suite, your revenue, messaging, operations, and your team. Plus, you'll also get an exclusive invite to join us on an epic 5-day in-person business retreat at a luxury villa in the Riviera Maya, Mexico. Now, during the program, we'll work with you personally to refine your product ladder, nail your messaging, create your CEO metrics dashboard so you can feel empowered to make decisions using your business finances, and also implement scaling systems that actually work for you and your freedom-filled lifestyle. Now, there are only 10 total spots available in this program, and they fill first come, first serve. So if you want to be the first to know when applications officially open and get first dibs before the program sells out, then click the link in the show notes to join the waitlist now. Again, just head to the show notes and click the link to get on the waitlist for our Scale with Purpose Mastermind program. We would love to support you and your big business goals this year. All right, let's get back to the episode.
And I think the last thing that I want to talk about when it comes to what not to do or what strategies that we always see people trying to evaluate whether or not they're good is kind of like a twofold one. So maybe something has come into your world, like paying for a booth at a event, becoming a paid exhibitor, or really expensive paid conferences. So like spending $5,000 or more on these paid conferences, or some of our clients have even asked us about, I think exhibitors or booths that are like almost $12,000 or more. And I think that and this is no hate on the conferences or the exhibitors or the booths. I think that there is probably value of going to these maybe as a guest and partaking in what the like value is of the conference or the exhibition. But when you are thinking through where to invest your money, this is something that comes up quite a bit, and we're always helping our clients evaluate and decide whether the investment is right for you. And typically, when we look at the payoff for what the investment amount is, let's say 5K, 10K, even to 3K. These are also, I think, things that you should very much evaluate, like spending your money there, and then also your time and efforts. How many clients could we realistically land to get a return on investment? And if you have a booth there or you're at a conference, that means that it is going to come down to how many people you can actually talk to. And I think the reality is that when you go to these conferences or these exhibitions, everybody there is trying to pitch themselves. Everybody there is networking. You're one person. How many people could you actually touch point with and then get on a sales call and then convert into sales? It's not impossible, but the volume there is going to be much lower than the volume of some of the other strategies that we're going to be talking about today. And getting new leads. It's not something I recommend because I honestly don't think that there is a high return on investment for those. I think if you're going there, and again, it's networking, maybe it's growing your knowledge base, like go as an attendee or negotiate or pitch to be a speaker so that you can showcase your expertise. Because again, it comes down to getting in front of a large audience and getting enough leads to then convert into your funnel. If you are trying to have that many one-on-one conversations, it's just not realistic. But if you can pitch to be a speaker or you have experience, if they want to sponsor you to come, great. I'm all about that. I'll negotiate and make sure that you're somehow able to get in front of the largest amount of audience and showcase your expertise, and then you'll be able to get leads. So that's different. But again, in those scenarios, you don't necessarily have to pay for those. You should be paid as a speaker or do it for free if that's the opportunity, but there should be no cost to you to attend to be a speaker.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, absolutely.
And then some of the other things just to think about as well is, you're going to, on top of the fee for the event, for the conference, you're going to have your travel costs. You're going to have anything that you need in terms of like printed physical items to promote your business. You might have to pay for those for the booth itself. Sometimes those are included, but these are all extra costs that for being an online business is almost like a physical business costs that you're probably just also not used to. And I just, again, boost that up, that cost up. And for the return, personally, I don't think is there. And then the energy trade-off. So a lot of strategies we're going to talk about will be very efficient for how much time you actually have to spend to get in front of the volume of your niche audience that you need to be in front of. So I also like to consider, if you're going to an event, a conference or whatnot, thinking about the energy cost as well, the time spent away from home, your family, out of your routine. Like these coupled with the financial costs, just in my opinion, when I evaluate these with clients, I have yet to find one that I have approved or thought that was worth the investment.
Yeah, that's such a great point. Yeah, I think it's something that isn't really talked about as much. And maybe you're listening and you're like, oh, I haven't really come across this yet. But we get asked this by our clients quite often, more than I would think, actually, about, getting offered to be an exhibitor or have a booth somewhere. And I think that these pitches must be really strong from these conferences or these brands and companies that are hosting them, because they are going to make you feel special and exclusive and like, oh, you're invited to pay $12,000 to have a booth at this event. That's just a random figure that we've seen. It could be less, it could be more. But like Shay was mentioning, just the reality of how many people you're going to be able to talk to and who's going to come by your booth is just, like we were chatting about a bit ago, if you really look at what your goals are and how many of these high ticket services that you need to sell, you could not need to travel away from home and spend all this money on traveling. And like you said, Shay, be out of your routine, which that's a very, that's a big one. I think about that. And we've had clients who have done something like this, and then they are completely out of their routine and the ongoings of their business and really moving their business forward for sometimes 2 weeks, because it's just kind of completely thrown them off. And so now we're talking about 2 weeks outside the business, especially if we didn't really get clients, or we get a lot of I talked to this person, I talked to that person, I got business cards. It is a very lukewarm networking, and we don't often see clients come out of that, even if there is follow-up. So let's move into, Shay, talking about what does work. And there is one strategy that we really want to talk about today, which is proactive, targeted relationship building in your niche. Now, I know that's kind of a mouthful, but I promise every single one of those words was necessary. Proactive, meaning we are not sitting around waiting for high ticket clients to come to us. We're not waiting for clients to refer us to new clients. We're not just sitting around and working in other aspects of our business thinking that we are going to generate a significant more amount of revenue without having proactively done anything differently. Targeted means we need to be really specific about the types of relationships that we're building, who we're reaching out to, and what the mutual benefit is. And then relationship building, because we are wanting to really focus on building true relationships, being authentic. For us and for most of our clients, I would say all of our clients, they don't want to feel salesy or icky, or you're not just looking at people with a dollar sign over their head. People are real humans, real clients that we want to impact and help get results. And so we are very focused on relationship building. And then lastly, they need to be in your niche. I feel like this is probably pretty self-explanatory, but if you are doing relationship building, it's going to benefit you if it's in your area of expertise and in your niche. If not, then you're going to be generating clients in a completely different niche area, which that doesn't make any sense to me. So being very specific about relationship building in your niche. And I also feel like that niche bit kind of gets a little bit muddled for some of our clients when they're first coming to us as well. we've talked about this in past episodes. Once you have defined that niche, this piece becomes a lot more clear. And I feel like, to me, it seems very self-explanatory, but we don't see our clients usually make that connection. It's like, now that you've chosen your niche, now this is the area that the niche area, the industry that you need to double down into and start building relationships in. So it becomes, I think, to me anyways, very straightforward that brands, companies, individuals, those are the types of people in your niche that you need to start building relationships with. So Shay, I guess when it comes to how do you approach relationship building in a way that does feel natural and like not so salesy? I know something you're very good at. How do you kind of approach relationship building in that way?
Yeah, that's such a interesting question, because sometimes I think it's hard for me to take a lens out and see what I do for what it is, because I did have this with a client recently and something that comes just so naturally with relationship building. And I think if I can kind of boil it down as something that I like to think about is that always view yourself as an equal to this partner. I understand that, yes, there are people that have larger audiences or have been in business longer than you, but take away this pedestal and talk to them in this more way of that you're of equals. And it will come across more in terms of building a relationship is easier when you feel like you're not the one who has nothing to offer, because you do have something to offer. And I think it's like changing that, because I see that with our clients and just really helping them own their CEO leadership, their expertise, what that makes them unique and special. And speaking just as even being, sometimes not able to see my gifts, like I understand it's hard to see your own gifts. So if you can just simply view this person as, this is somebody I want to collaborate with. Let me build a relationship from like, how would I want someone to approach me? What level of respect do I want, or whatever that means to you? Let's just have a conversation from that perspective. So whenever you're emailing with them or ever having a conversation, even when you're pitching them, I always try to take an approach of like, hey, this is what I can offer to you. I would love to offer this to your community. I would love for you to offer this to our community. Like really thinking about it as this thing that you are both doing for each other. And that's really where I like to start when it comes to relationship building, is not just starting with like how I can serve you, but also how you can serve me. I guess that's probably not the right language, but basically it feeling very much like a collaboration right from the start. And always approaching it with very positive language. Like even, for example, if you get a no from someone, or if you get a negotiation from someone, or you get a counter from someone, instead of immediately feeling like, if you don't like the offer and just saying no to the offer, keep an open mind, come up with a unique scenario, say, okay, yeah, like that sounds great. I would love to do, and just start with the things first that you want to do out of what they shared, and then present other opportunities, or say no in a way that is kind of reframing it, renegotiating in a sense. But again, not ever from a place of I never read emails if someone says no to me, I never feel like it's like a shut off conversation. I think this is because it's just a very sales negotiation, very natural. And I feel like because I take such an authentic approach, I'm like, oh, okay, that doesn't work for you. Like, no problem. How about this scenario? Or how about that scenario? And just, and even allowing, if they bring back scenarios, like even if it doesn't look maybe exactly like you wanted the relationship to look like, being open that this is a short term, like or it can turn into a long term, a really amazing relationship if we, negotiate a little bit in the beginning.
Yeah, I like that you brought that up, like what feels good, and not just taking something at face value. This is something that behind the scenes, we are really seeing a lot of flexibility right now in collaborations, in partnerships, in relationship building, what the terms are, what is being offered. It is not necessarily like one-to-one. And what I mean by that is like, oh, you have a very large audience and I have a very small audience. We can't collaborate. We're not seeing it viewed that way. And I encourage you to see your expertise, like Shay was mentioning, just like in a different light. Like, yes, maybe you wouldn't swap email lists in this scenario because, yes, if you only have 100 people or 1,000 people on your email list and you're trying to get a swap for somebody else who has 50,000 people on their email list, that is, that doesn't make sense. Just like if that was you who had 50,000, you'd be like, oh, probably not worth it. Again, like you were mentioning, Shay, kind of looking at it of like, oh, what would I want? But you can look at your business and your services and your expertise in a different light. And you can say like, oh, well, I do have this, skill set, PR skill set or OBM skill set that your community or your students need, but it's not something that you offer or not something that you teach. Why don't I create a workshop? Or why don't I come teach a module in your program? Or why don't I host a workshop to your community? And that is a lot of added value in return for you getting promoted to this person's community. That to me now makes the, if they were promoting you to their email list, that 50,000, now you on your end from a collaboration standpoint, you are bringing value that, again, it's not directly monetary. It's not like, oh, my workshop is worth $3,000 and your 50,000 email list is worth $3,000. And now we have this like exact partner collaboration. There's a lot of flexibility right now in how you're collaborating, the expertise that you have to offer. And so I really encourage you to, just like you were saying, Shay, I think it's great advice is to like be open-minded and to find those areas of opportunity. And if somebody says no, or maybe they already are doing a collaboration in that way or that arena, like get creative. Mm-hmm. Think about other ways that you could support their membership, get on their podcast, or support their students. There's so many opportunities. So just keep in mind that we're seeing a lot of flexibility right now with partnerships, and we're seeing a lot of partners want to do partnerships. And I think that's a really positive thing as well. This is not a strategy where we're seeing a lot of people say no and say like, ooh, no, I don't want to partner with you, or we're not seeing a lot of gatekeeping. Again, that does happen. There will be people out there who don't want to promote you, they don't want to collaborate, they don't want to share, they don't have this type of relationship building approach to their business. But for a lot of business owners, Shay, that you and I have been interacting with for our own business, or even clients and business owners that our clients are interacting with, they are so excited to partner. They're like, oh my gosh, yes, like I don't teach this, or I don't talk about this area that you specialize in. And I get a lot of people in my community, or a lot of my students, a lot of my clients asking me about this. And like, I can't provide them the strategies, the expertise, because it is not my area. And so they're so excited to build a relationship like this. So I'm really, really happy that you brought that up. And hopefully that gives people just some flexibility with what these actually look like. And I know that can kind of be overwhelming sometimes. It's like, well, if there's so many things on the table, then it's just like, what do I offer? So what are some examples of these relationship building strategies that we're using right now and that some of our clients are using as well? Or I should say most, if not all of our clients that are doing heavy lead gen strategies to really drive revenue, to scale, and to sell their high ticket services.
Yeah, for sure. Because I feel like this is the juxtaposition of what I talked about in like what's not working, like what is working, and why relationship is so important. And maybe I didn't touch on this, was that this relationship building is not necessarily building a relationship, these pitches, or building this collaboration relationship with the one singular person you're trying to close into a high ticket. The strategy is that we in today's landscape, you need to have a niche and then know where you can get in front of that niche. And the easiest way to do that is to find communities, find creators, find people who have nurtured this audience as the same as yours, but they don't offer what you offer. And so then they have a like, no trust factor already built with their audience that they're able to give you the stamp of approval. Get in front of their audience, which again, then you're not fighting algorithms. You're usually getting in front of their audience via their email list or directly in their community or directly with their clients. But the concept is that we build relationships with partners that have already built audiences that are in our niche and that we don't offer the same services. So this allows you that volume. So when we go back to our time, your time spent actually, creating the content or showing up to host and teach and showcase your expertise is going to maybe equate to a few hours, if not even like 30 minutes, if it's something like a podcast episode, which I'll speak to in a second. So the amount of volume, going back to what we were talking about before with what's not working, the amount of volume of leads you can get in front of with this and get the stamp of approval of someone else basically vouching for you, which is pretty much a different version of your referral system that has probably worked really well. So it's like it's the same concept, but it's a higher volume of new leads to get in front of from basically someone giving a stamp of approval, giving a referral to their community for you. So something that I think is really important that I sort of brushed over was your niche and also identifying where should you start to reach out to potential partners. So Cass, I'd love to throw that question back to you.
Yeah, I see this a lot with our clients, and it's just like, okay, there is a light bulb moment. Like, yes, I should be doing proactive, targeted, relationship building in my niche. I know who my niche is. I'm gung-ho and I'm like ready to do the work every week consistently to reach out to these people. But it's like, who do I reach out to and where do I find them? And, I think that's the CMO in me that I'm like, oh my goodness, I see so many opportunities. So one of the places, or there's multiple places that I do a lot of this research for our clients, but one of the places is starting with one of your current clients or an ideal client and looking on LinkedIn. Now, when I look at that person on LinkedIn, I am paying attention to what types of organizations are they associated with? Do they have any specific qualifications, any degrees? Are they in specific organizations? Who on the side of LinkedIn are they saying are other people similar to this person? Have they attended specific conferences recently? Are they mentioning any programs? Just like anything in that world. And I start to open up millions of tabs. This is where you do want to go down rabbit holes. So from one individual person, I do this with our clients, from one individual client saying like, oh, I like listening to this person on YouTube, or I have attended a virtual conference from this place. I will go deep in a rabbit hole and I will take a look at, let me use that virtual conference as an example. This could also work for an in-person conference. I open up that tab and I start looking at all of the speakers at this conference. And I start making a list of all of them. Who are they? What type of businesses do they own? I open up tabs to take a look at their website. Do they have podcasts? Do they have programs? Do they have memberships? What institutions are they a part of? What qualifications do they have? And obviously, I'm repeating myself here, but you can see how you could do this for so many clients or so many conferences, so many of your ideal niche dream client that you are wanting to really deep dive into and to find more opportunities for partnerships, for relationships. And I start building a list of all of these. And it will be a long list to start. And it will look like anything from coaches in your niche, like people who coach people to start this type of business. Maybe, for one of our clients, she's partnered with a business owner who is a coach for therapists, or another one of our clients serves lawyers. It's like there are coaches out there who teach people how to launch their own practice. I look for consultants. I mentioned I also look for institutions. Of course, these are much larger. They could be city institutions, state institutions, but we want to be a part of those. Get on those newsletters, attend those webinars, look at those membership lists. If this is, a list of all of the lawyers in a specific area of practice in Texas, then I want to know who those people are if that's my target audience, right? I mean, I would say your target audience is probably all of the states, not so state specific. But if you live in a specific state or live in a specific city, start there. There's so many people. That could be programs as well, people who offer programs in your niche. That can be conferences. That can be people who offer courses. That could also be complementary service-based businesses. Maybe you offer social media management, but they're in a specific niche, but there is another agency who offers website design in the same niche. You all could partner together. We look at agencies in general. You could white label for an agency in your niche. I'm looking at podcasts, and I'm looking generally also for people who run communities. There are clients that we have who have partnered with people who run just very niche specific communities for people. And they usually have programs and memberships and podcasts. So as you can see, there is a wide range of partners that you can start to reach out to and so much relationship building. And I think LinkedIn just becomes an easy one because there's so much information on people that people post about themselves or their business. You could also take a look at the business page on LinkedIn for a specific business. And then you can click on people and you could see who works at that company. And I also use that as a starting point, a launch point for finding partners to reach out to. The last point I want to make on that is I think that you behind the scenes have likely identified your niche. But what I find a lot of our clients struggling to actually do is proactively be a part of this niche. And that's really what I mean by relationship building. Like, follow these people on LinkedIn. There's a very easy follow step. Like when you go to your LinkedIn page, even if you're not using it for, let's say, client lead gen, go to your LinkedIn home feed. It should be filled with things in your niche. It should be filled with conferences, with people, with coaches, with programs. To me, that's what it means, starting to get truly involved in your niche. Going to, knowing what types of courses and programs and coaches or memberships other people are offering in your niche. And you don't even need a massive volume of these partnerships either. But you do need to start really getting involved. And I find that a lot of our clients are just, and I say this in the most loving, grace-filled way, like they are sitting on the sidelines and working behind the scenes of their business. They love serving their clients one-on-one. And there is a barrier between stepping into being the CEO of your business and being the, front and center person, being the proactive expert in your field, getting into your niche and really landing and building these amazing relationships and partners that are going to lead to significantly more revenue. And definitely we've seen a much higher flow of client leads and also sales coming from that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was so spot on. And I feel that is the marketing strategy, is just getting so involved with your niche and having a handful of partners that you've connected with in that niche that you can get the opportunity to create essentially a referral system with them. And the way that looks like, and what I want to speak to, is the actual tangible way that, okay, well, what does that look like once you've built a relationship or you're, pitching a collaboration, pitching a partnership? There's 4 areas that we see that work the best for our clients, and ones that I would say all of our clients, whether they're doing it now, but they will be doing this. These are the 4 strategies that we use in our program. And the first one is called guest podcasting. So as you're doing your research, does this person, are they a podcast host? Do they have a podcast that is speaking on topics related to that your niche would be listening to? So that could be anywhere from a 30-minute to 60-minute interview. So kind of going back to like the low lift on your end, like, yes, there might be some pitching ahead of time, maybe some prep, but for the most part, showing up and being a guest on a podcast is very low lift, and we have seen incredible results. Another great aspect of, if we are looking at top of funnel, podcasting is a really easy entry point, because a lot of times, or for the most time, people are looking for content for the podcast, especially if they've been recording their podcast for a lot of years, which is very common. For these communities that you're finding your niche in, these hosts are always looking for content. So if we go back to kind of feeling like, what value am I providing? This one's a really easy one to really showcase, what you can speak on, how you could help serve their audience, showcase your expertise, all of that. And it's a really low pressure environment in that way. And what's great is like, they want guests, they need content. So there you're needed. Okay. And then from there, you can build the relationship. So a lot of times we see this. And so it kind of goes into, because some of the other things I'm going to talk about is that when you build this relationship from guest podcasting, this person, if they have a course, if they have a community, if they have other ways to partner with them, it is so much easier to pitch after you've already created this really great relationship from guest podcasting. We've seen this with multiple of our clients. So I would say that probably the easiest one is to start, if you find anybody in your niche when you're doing all the research Cass was sharing and they have a podcast, that one's probably the easiest one to pitch and land and build the initial relationship with. And then moving into, I said there was 4. So the second one that I want to talk about, also very similar one that you can build on the top of funnel. At the top is signature workshops. And so this is where, if they have this community, or again, courses or different places where there's an opportunity to come in and do a workshop, or simply to their whole audience. So they don't necessarily have to have a course or community. Again, it's a very similar pitch like guest podcasting. But in this scenario, you are hosting a live workshop, teaching and providing value to their audience. And again, another way to showcase your expertise, get in front of their audience, but also build a relationship with them. And then the other 2 are deeper kind of partnership, referral and commissions, or becoming a deeper partner with them. So typically these can come after you've done a free type of value add, like being a guest podcast or hosting a signature workshop. Or you can go right in and pitch this from the beginning as well. But if you're not comfortable yet, it's always great to start with podcasting or workshops. The third one would be what's called partner referral commission structures. So again, this is typically where they have maybe a complimentary service to you, but they don't offer what you offer. And so vice versa, you can both offer each other commission structures to send each other referrals, because you have the same niche and complementary services. Like, for example, if you're a website designer and partner with a copywriter and you have the same niche, that's going to be a really nice channel of sending each other leads. And then the way to keep that one simple is to set up a commission structure. So you're not working together. You're just simply sending each other clients and providing a kickback commission. The other one is to become part of a partner's program or course. So that's where you actually are integrated, and you maybe teach inside of their course or program, and they are saying this is the go-to person. Sometimes they might have multiple that people can select from. So it might be you and other people in there, but they are the ones basically driving their students directly to you. So it's a really great lead funnel. And again, in that structure, there is typically some version of either some version of a commission structure in a funnel flow like that. So those would be the 4 kind of areas that you can start with when it comes to the type of content, the type of partnerships, type of collaborations that you can start to build. And what's really great is no matter which one you start with, there is opportunity to continue. This isn't a one and done. So if we go back to building strong relationships, the opportunity should be that this is an ongoing partnership. If they have a podcast, maybe you can come in and do multiple episodes. You can do multiple workshops. You can create, or you start with that and then you build in a referral structure. Like, always be thinking about other ways that you can amplify the partnership. And then just all you would really need is, 2 to 3 really strong partners to get the volume of leads that you probably need right now to amplify your revenue.
Yep, absolutely. Well, to wrap up this conversation, I know some of you might be asking, like, okay, how do I actually reach out to a partner to pitch something like this, or even just to get the conversation started, which is very much the perspective and the strategy that we take when it comes to reaching out to partners via email typically, or wherever you can reach them, to be honest, or just message them in multiple platforms. You're just wanting to reach somebody who is the decision maker at this company or brand or membership program, course, etc. We have a partnership pitch template, and this is really going to help you land these dream collaborations and really get the conversation going with more ease, so that, again, just like we've been talking about in this conversation, you can sell more of your high ticket services. So it's a free resource. We're going to give you our exact partnership pitch template. This is a pitch template that we have used with our clients inside of our Scale with Purpose Mastermind program. And you can download it very easily, as always, by just going to the link in our show notes.
Yes, definitely get your hands on that pitch template. It'll be in the show notes. And thank you so much, as always, for being such an incredible listener and all of the messages that I receive in the DMs on Instagram. I so appreciate everyone who takes the time. I love engaging after these episodes, so definitely hit me up on Instagram in the DMs. Or you can also email us as well at hello@bucketlistbombshells.com. I know some of you have done that too. So thank you again for being an amazing listener and for tuning in to today's episode. And we will see you on the next one.